Good evening and welcome to another reading of 1001 Nights, back at home. My name is Saman Gerard and I'll be your host this evening again. The music in the background is composed by our music director Kamiab Saderi, who's accompanied by Bijan, and you can listen to the whole piece on Facebook. Just click on the special reading. It's the 237th night. It's such a beautiful song. I had to replay it again. It's gorgeous. So, I hope you all had a lovely day. What day is it today? Hey, you who's watching, what day is it today? Personal calendar. I think it's Tuesday. And we shall continue the story. If you didn't listen to the special reading, it's basically about a young guy who's 14 years old and who falls in love with a girl. And both of them are, of course, described as being beautiful and all. And she's being kidnapped. That's what we would call it. She's being stolen, actually, by the commander of the faithful, who just wants to have her around, and he wants to physically come closer to her, but she doesn't want to. She refuses, and she becomes very, very ill. So Niamah, the boy who's in love with her and who happens to be the master because she's actually his slave, is looking for her. So this is where we are at the story, so enjoy the reading. And if we're lucky, Button might join us. All right. Now, when it was the 241st night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Al-Hajjaj said to the captain of the watch, 'There is no help for it, but thou send out horsemen and look for the damsel on all the roads and seek for her in the towns.' Then he turned to Niamah and said to him, 'And thy slave girl return not. I will give thee 10 slave girls from my house, and 10 from that of the chief of police.' And he again bade the captain of the watch go and seek for the girl. So he went out, and Niamah returned home, full of trouble and despairing of life, for he had now reached the age of 14, and there was yet no hair on his side cheeks. So he wept and lamented, and shut himself up from his household, and ceased not to weep and lament, he and his mother, till the morning, when his father came in to him and said, 'O my son, of a truth, Al-Hajjaj hath put a cheat upon the damsel, and hath taken her. But from hour to hour Allah giveth relief.' However, grief redoubled on Niamah, so that he knew not what he said, nor knew he. Button. I'm so sorry. Stop it. Joys of living with a cat. However, grief redoubled on Niamah, so that he knew not what he said, nor knew he who came in to him. And he fell sick for 3 months. His charms were changed. His father despaired of him. And the physicians visited him and said, 'There is no remedy for him save the damsel.' Now as his father was sitting one day, behold, he heard tell of a skillful Persian physician whom the folk gave out for perfect in medicine and astrology and geomancy. So Al-Rabi sent for him, and seating him by his side, entreated him with honor, and said to him, 'Look into my son's case.' Thereupon quoth he to Niamah, 'Give me thy hand.' The young man gave him his hand, and he felt his pulse and his joints, and looked in his face. Then he laughed, and turning to his father said, 'Thy son's sole ailment is one of the heart.' He replied, 'Thou sayest sooth, O sage, but apply thy skill to his state and case, and acquaint me with the whole thereof, and hide naught from me of his condition. Quoth the Persian, of a truth he is enamored of a slave girl, and this slave girl is either in Bassorah or Damascus, and there is no remedy for him but reunion with her. Said Al-Rabi, and thou bring them together, thou shalt live all thy life in wealth and delight. Answered the Persian, in good sooth, this be an easy matter, and soon brought about. And he turned to Ni'amah and said to him, no hurt shall befall thee, so be of good cheer, and keep thine eyes cool and clear. Then quoth he to Al-Rabi, bring me out 4,000 dinars of your money. So he gave them to him, and he added, I wish to carry thy son with me to Damascus, and Almighty Allah willing, I will not return thence but with the damsel. Then he turned to the youth and asked, what is thy name? And he answered, Ni'amah. Quoth the Persian, O Ni'amah, sit up and be of good heart, for Allah will reunite thee with the damsel. And when he sat up, the liege continued, be of good cheer, for we set out for Damascus this very day. Put thy trust in the Lord, and eat and drink, and be cheerful, so as to fortify thyself for travel. Upon this, the Persian began making preparation of all things needed, such as presents and rarities. And he took off Al-Rabi in all the sum of 10,000 dinars, together with horses and camels, and beasts of burden, and other requisites. Then Ni'amah farewelled his father and mother, and journeyed with the physician to Aleppo. They could find no news of Naomi there, so they fared on to Damascus, where they abode 3 days, after which the Persian took a shop, and he adorned even the shelves with vessels of costly porcelain, with covers of silver, and with gildings and stuffs of price. Moreover, he set before himself vases and flagons of glass full of all manner of ointments and syrups, and he surrounded them with cups of crystal, and placing astrolabe and geomantic tablet facing him, he donned a physician's habit and took his seat in the shop. Then he set Ni'amah standing before him, clad in a shirt and gown of silk, and girding his middle with a silken kerchief gold embroidered, said to him, O Ni'amah, henceforth thou art my son, so call me naught but sire, and I will call thee naught but son. And he replied, I hear and I obey. Thereupon the people of Damascus flocked in the Persian's shop, that they might gaze on the youth's goodliness and the beauty of the shop and its contents. Whilst the physician spoke to Ni'amah in Persian, and he answered him in the same tongue, for he knew the language, after the wont of the sons of the notables. So that Persian doctor soon became known among the townsfolk, and they began to acquaint him with their ailments, and he to prescribe for them remedies. Moreover, they brought him the water of the sick in phials, and he would test it and say, he whose water this is suffering from such and such a disease. And the patient would declare, verily this physician saith sooth. So he continued to do the occasions of the folk, and they to flock to him, till his fame spread throughout the city and into the houses of the great. Now, this is Button. She lost the common camera lately, I don't know why. Where were we? Now one day, as he sat in the city and into the houses of the great, today, if you want. Let's try one more time. Now one day, as he sat in a shop, behold, there came up an old woman, riding on an ass with a stuffed saddle of brocade, embroidered with jewels, and stopping before the Persian's shop, drew rein and beckoned him, saying, "Take my hand." He took her hand, and she alighted and asked him, "Art thou the Persian physician from Iraq?" "Yes," answered he, and she said, "Know that I have a sick daughter." Then she brought out to him a phial, and the Persian looked at it and said to her, "O my mistress, tell me thy daughter's name, that I may calculate her horoscope and learn the hour in which it will befit her to drink medicine." She replied, "O my brother the Persian, her name is Naomi." Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 242nd night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the Persian heard the name of Naomi, he fell to calculating and writing on his hand, and presently said, O my lady, I cannot prescribe a medicine for her till I know what countrywoman she is, because of the difference of climate. So tell me, in what land she was brought up, and what is her age?" The old woman replied, "She is 14 years old, and she was brought up in Kufa of Iraq." He asked, "And how long hath she sojourned in this country?" "But a few months," answered she. Now when Ni'amah heard the old woman's words and recognized the name of his slave girl, his heart fluttered, and he was like to faint. Then said the Persian, "Such and such medicines will suit her case." And the old woman rejoined, "Then make them up and give me what thou hast mentioned, with the blessing of Almighty Allah." So saying, she threw upon the shopboard 10 gold pieces. And he looked at Ni'amah and bade him prepare the necessary drugs. Whereupon she also looked at the youth and exclaimed, "Allah have thee in his keeping, O my son. Verily she favoureth thee in age and mien." Then said she to the physician, "O my brother, the Persian, is this thy slave or thy son?" "He is my son," answered he. So Ni'amah put up the medicine, and placing it in a little box, took a piece of paper and wrote thereon these 2 couplets. "If Naomi bless me with a single glance, let Suada sue and Jum let joy to pet. They said, forget her, 20 such thou'lt find, but none is like her, I will not forget." He pressed the paper into the box and, sealing it up, wrote upon the cover the following words in Kufic characters: "I am Ni'amah, son of Al-Rabi of Kufa." Then he set it before the old woman, who took it and bade them farewell, and returned to the Caliph's palace. And when she went up with the drugs to the damsel, she placed the little box of medicine at her feet, saying, "O my lady, know that there is lately come to our town a Persian physician, than whom I never saw a more skilful, nor a better versed in matters of malady. I told him thy name after showing him the water bottle, and forthwith he knew thine ailment and prescribed a remedy. Then he bade his son make thee up this medicine, and there is not in Damascus a comelier or a seemlier youth than this lad of his, nor hath anyone a shop the like of his shop." So Naomi took the box, and seeing the names of her lord and his father written on the cover, changed colour and said to herself, "Doubtless the owner..." That was my alarm for whatever reason. Where was I? "Doubtless the owner of this shop is come in search of me." So she said to the old woman, "Describe to me this youth." answered the old woman. His name is Naomi. He hath a mole on his right eyebrow, is richly clad, and is perfectly handsome. Cried Naomi, give me the medicine, whereon be the blessing and help of Almighty Allah. So she drank off the potion, and she, laughing, and said, indeed, it is a blessed medicine. Then she sought in the box, and finding the paper, opened it, read it, understood it, and knew that this was indeed her Lord, whereat her heart was solaced, and she rejoiced. Now when the old woman saw her laughing, she exclaimed, this is indeed a blessed day. And Naomi said, O nurse, I have a mind for something to eat and drink. The old woman said to the serving women, bring a tray of dainty viands for your mistress, whereupon they set food before her, and she sat down to eat. And behold, in came the Caliph, who seeing her sitting at meat rejoiced. And the old woman said to him, O commander of the faithful, I give thee joy of thy handmaid Naomi's recovery, and the cause is that there is lately come to this our city a physician than whom I never saw a better versed in diseases and their remedies. I fetched her medicine from him, and she hath drunken of it but once, and is restored to health. Quoth he, take 1,000 dinars, and apply thyself to the treatment till she be completely recovered. And he went away, rejoicing in the damsel's recovery, whilst the old woman betook herself to the Persian's house and delivered 1,000 dinars, giving him to know that she was become the Caliph's slave, and also handing him a letter which Naomi had written. He took it and gave the letter to Naomi, who at first sight knew her hand and fell down in a swoon. When he revived, he opened the letter and found these words written therein. From the slave despoiled of her Naomi, her delight, her whose reason hath been beguiled, and who is parted from the core of her heart. But afterwards, of a truth, thy letter hath reached me, and hath broadened my breast, and solaced my soul, even as saith the poet. Thy note came, long lost fingers wrote that note, till dropped they sweetest sense for what they wrote. 'Twas Moses to his mother's arms restored, 'twas Jacob's eyesight cured by Joseph's code. When Nehemiah read these verses, his eyes ran over with tears, and the old woman said to him, what maketh thee to weep, O my son? Allah never caused thine eyes to shed tears. Cried the Persian, O my lady, how should my son not weep, seeing that this is his slave girl, and he her lord, Nehemiah, son of Al-Rabi of Kufa, and her health dependeth on her seeing him, for naught aileth her but loving him. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. For those of you tuning in, this is a reading of 1001 Nights. This is Lady Button snoozing, and my name is Samanjarak. Now when it was the 243rd night, she said, it hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the Persian cried out to the old woman, how shall my son not weep, seeing that this is his slave girl, and he her lord, Nehemiah, son of Al-Rabi of Kufa, and the health of this damsel dependeth on her seeing him, and naught aileth her but loving him. So do thou, O my lady, take these 1,000 dinars to thyself, and thou shalt have of me yet more than this. Only look on us with eyes of ruth, for we know not how to bring this affair to a happy end, save through thee. Then she said to Nehemiah, say, art thou indeed her lord? He replied, yes. Then she rejoined, thou sayest sooth, for she ceaseth not continually to name thee. Then he told her all that had passed, from first to last. And she said, O youth, thou shalt owe thy reunion with her to none but myself. So she mounted, and at once returning to Naomi, looked in her face and laughed, saying, It is just, O my daughter, that thou weep and fall sick for thy separation from thy master, Naomi, son of Al-Rabi of Kufa. Quoth Naomi, Verily, the veil hath been withdrawn from thee, and the truth revealed to thee. Rejoined the old woman, Be of good cheer, and take heart, for I will surely bring you together, though it cost me my life. Then she returned to Naomi and said to him, I went to thy slave girl, and conversed with her, and I find that she longeth for thee, yet more than thou for her. For although the commander of the faithful is minded to become intimate with her, she refuseth herself to him. But if thou be stout of purpose and firm of heart, I will bring you together and venture my life for you, and play some trick, and make shift to carry thee into the Caliph's palace, where thou shalt meet her, for she cannot come forth. And Naomi answered, Allah requite thee with good. Then she took leave of him, and went back to Naomi and said, Thy Lord is indeed dying of love for thee, and would fain see thee and foregather with thee. What sayest thou? Naomi replied, And I too am longing for his side and dying for his love. Whereupon the old woman took a parcel of women's clothes and ornaments, and repairing to Naomi said to him, Come with me into some place apart. So he brought her into the room behind the shop, where she stained his hands and decked his wrists and plaited his hair, after which she clad him in a slave girl's habit, and adorned him after the fairest fashion of woman's adornment, till he was as one of the houris of the garden of heaven. And when she saw him thus, she exclaimed, Blessed be Allah, best of creators. By Allah, thou art handsomer than the damsel. Now, walk with thy left shoulder forwards, and thy right well behind, and sway thy hips from side to side. So he walked before her as she bade him, and when she saw he had caught the trick of woman's gait, she said to him, Expect me tomorrow night, and Allah willing, I will take and carry thee to the palace. But when thou seest the chamberlains and the eunuchs, be bold, and bow thy head, and speak not with any, for I will prevent their speech, and with Allah is success. Accordingly, when the morning dawned, she returned, and carrying him to the palace, entered before him, and he after her step by step. The chamberlain would have stopped his entering, but the old woman said to him, O most ill-omened of slaves, this is the handmaid of Naomi, the Caliph's favourite. How durst thou stay her when she would enter? Then said she, Come in, O damsel. And the old woman went in, and they ceased not faring on, till they drew near the door leading to the inner piazza of the palace, when she said to him, O Naomi, harden thyself and take courage, and enter and turn to the left. Then count 5 doors, and pass through the 6th, for it is that of the palace prepared for thee. Fear nothing, and if any speak to thee, answer not, neither stop. Then she went up with him to the door, and the chamberlain there on guard accosted her, saying, What damsel is this? And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. I think somebody fell asleep. enjoy the reading? Did you? Just so sweet. Lately she's really been joining the readings physically. She's a more mature cat lady. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the reading with both of us. And wherever you are in the world, I wish you a pleasant morning, a pleasant afternoon, noon, evening, or a pleasant night if you happen to be in this area. I will see you again on Thursday. As of December 20th, we will take a break until beginning of January, and we will announce more information soon. So until then, we shall see you tomorrow, Thursday or Friday. I wish you a wonderful night. I'll see you soon. It's okay. Sorry, I'm just saying bye. I get startled so easily. Excuse me. And as usual, remember to go inwards instead of outwards. Much love to you. Thank you. Bye.